Okay, these are all the ingredients you're gonna need for your sweet potatoes. We have butter, cake batter, McCormick flavoring, which is really delicious. It used to be called vanilla butter and nut, but they renamed it to cake batter. So this is what we're going to be using today, as well as sugar and your sweet potatoes. Okay, you guys, I'm going to teach you guys how to cut sweet potatoes the best way so that, you get flavor all throughout the sweet potato when you actually cook it. So this is the way my grandma taught me. First, we're going to cut it in half like this. You want to make sure you use a nice thick knife because these potatoes are very tough. All right, so now that you cut the sweet potato in half, you want to turn it up like this on the half that was cut. So you see the flat bottom, we're going to place it flat on our cutting board. We're going to take our knife and we're going to just cut it down the side like this. So we're making slices of sweet potato. And to tell you the truth, I love my sweet potatoes this way. I do not like them when they're cut in those little flat sides. I mean those almost rings. But yeah, this way is so delicious. You get nice thin pieces of sweet potato like this. And they hold so much flavor and they're very delicious. And this is just the way my grandmother taught me how to cut her sweet potatoes, or how to cut sweet potatoes. And I think it's absolutely awesome. Just make sure you don't cut yourself because it can be sometimes difficult. Sometimes you may want to use another instrument to hold your sweet potato in place while you're cutting. But yeah, I figured, the slices down the side are the best way for me to cut sweet potatoes, and it just tastes the best in my opinion. So I'm just going to continue cutting these sweet potatoes, and then we're going to get them ready to go inside the pot. Okay, all of my candy yams are cut up, or all of my sweet potatoes are cut up, and they're in these nice pieces that this one can probably be cut a little bit more, it is. But they're in these nice thin pieces because I cut it down the side. Nice thin pieces that we're going to transfer to a pot. Okay, so first, what you want to do, I'm going to move these out of the way. Let's move these out of the way. I'm going to have my pot. So basically what you want to do is do kind of a layering effect. My grandma usually uses two sticks of butter. But because I have a little less sweet potatoes today, I'm not going to use as much butter. So of course, definitely adjust the recipe for, what you actually have in your home. So I'm using Land O'Lakes butter. We're going to do a layering effect. So what we're going to do basically is put in, I'm going to use one whole stick on the bottom. One whole stick of butter on the bottom of the pot. And then I'm going to put my sweet potatoes on top of that stick of butter. So we put our sweet potatoes on top of that stick of butter. And then next, we're going to add a cup of sugar. So I'm just going to grab my Pyrex so we can get some sugar added here. So my grandma usually doesn't measure. She just pours, but I just want to be a little better with it and measure my sugar. So I have about a cup of sugar here that I'm going to pour on top of these sweet potatoes. And on top of the sweet potatoes, I'm going to use about 3/4 stick of butter, not a whole stick. So about this much. I'm going to add that on top like that. And next we want to add our flavoring. So I have nutmeg and I have my cake batter flavoring that I showed you at the beginning. So this flavoring is the absolute best flavoring. It was called vanilla butter and nut previously, but McCormick recently changed the name to cake batter. This flavoring is absolutely delicious, and that's what I'm going to use for the sweet potatoes. My grandma's recipe calls for nutmeg. Lots of nutmeg. She does not use cinnamon in her sweet potatoes, and I think that they are amazing. You don't need cinnamon, so we're going to use nutmeg. So now we have our first layer in here. I'm going to start adding my nutmeg and my flavoring. So if I can get my nutmeg open, I'm going to open up the big part, and I'm just going to start sprinkling in my nutmeg. Just I don't really have an exact measurement for you, so I just want you to sprinkle enough in here so that you can see the nutmeg and that it's well and thorough through the potatoes. I would say, if I had to say, I probably put about 3 tablespoons or maybe 4 tablespoons of nutmeg. So next we're gonna add our flavoring. And basically we wanna just sprinkle this flavoring around. Like I said, we don't use exact measurements because my grandma never uses exact measurements. So we're just going to pour it around like this. And this flavoring has like an orange look to it. You actually don't need that much of it, but hey, it's gonna be some very flavorful potatoes. Probably used more than I should have, but it's okay. It's just gonna be extra flavored. So now we're gonna put our next layer of potatoes on top of here, like this. We're gonna put our next layer of potatoes on top, like we're doing right now. All right, so basically you do not need any water, any liquid with this recipe because sweet potatoes create their own juice. So we're gonna put them on the stove, we're gonna put them on low, and we're gonna let them cook. All right, so that's our top layer. We have our butter in there. We're gonna add another cup of sugar because these are candied yams, so we want it to be candied. We don't wanna play around. So I'm gonna add another cup of sugar to these yams. On top and around like that. And you can add a little bit more nutmeg on top to top it off. A little bit more nutmeg on top. All right. And we're gonna put these on the stove and cook them on low. So when they get off the stove, I'm going to show you guys, or I can take you over to the stove as well. So hold on. All right, so we have our sweet potatoes on the stove. We're going to turn it on, and I want to cook it on low, and we're just going to let them melt down. And we'll probably increase the heat halfway through the cooking process. But yes, now we have our sweet potatoes on. I will show you guys the finished product when they are done. Okay, I'm going to give you guys a glimpse of what the sweet potatoes are looking like halfway through the cooking process. So as you can see, I put no water on these sweet potatoes. They created their own water, and they are just cooking down. Really, really nice. So I'm going to put the top back on these and let them continue to cook. And of course I have them on low heat so that they can really cook down really well. Okay, the sweet potatoes are pretty much done. And they taste absolutely amazing. I just made myself a little plate. Just a little bit of them, but oh my God, they are so good, so beautiful, so tasty. And I'm glad I could share the recipe with you guys.